Okay, so got this Pontiac Firebird with a broken visor. As you can see, that's the part that goes up into the ceiling of the car, and there's nothing holding this on. It'll just slip right out. So my theory is there's a nice little hole in there, and if there weren't a hole in there I would drill it, but there is. And I'm going to grind this part down right here to there. So I'm going to get rid of that excess, and then I'm going to tap some threads into there and put a screw in, perhaps with a washer, and I think that will serve as a retaining mechanism and save the visor instead of having to go to the junkyard and get another one. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, as you can see, I misspoke earlier. I said I was going to grind it down, but I actually used a cutoff wheel. I have a small handheld grinder called a die grinder, which operates on air. If you don't have access to that kind of tool, certainly a Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel would have worked just fine. And for all I know, your visor doesn't even need the shaft cut off, but mine did because I wanted to get a better fit. Now it just protrudes out about that much. As you may have recalled, it was another, I don't know, quarter-inch taller. Theoretically, I could grind this down a little further, but I want to have a little bit of room for it to do that. So now, as you can see, there's a small pilot hole in there. I'm going to drill in there a little bit, and I also have a tap and die set, because I am going to have to tap some threads into there to put a screw in. This one is a Pittsburgh brand, which, as a lot of you know, is the house brand for Harbor Freight, and very inexpensive, very handy to have. So, moving on. As far as drilling into metal goes, a lot of drill bits claim to be metal, but the ones I recommend that are relatively inexpensive are these Craftsman. They're cobalt, not tritium. I forget what they call it, tritium oxide or something else, but these are cobalt. That's what you want for drilling into metal. I'm sure many of you have experienced so-called metal drilling all-purpose bits just get dull and chewed up by any piece of metal that you throw at it. But these are pretty good. So before your local Sears goes bankrupt, pick up something like these. But they are known as cobalt drill bits. That's what you want. So I decided to tap using a size number 8 fine thread, 32 threads per inch. And why did I make that decision? Well, that was roughly about the size of the hole that was already in here. And I happen to have this 832 Allen head screw laying around, also a Harbor Freight special. And I'm just going to demonstrate something here. Now I tapped the threads in as far as I can go, but as you can see, the screw doesn't quite go all the way down, and we want it to go all the way down, otherwise this thing is just going to go ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. So a lot of people don't realize on your standard cheap wire cutters, there's usually a couple of holes like this where you can cut a screw off, and it's got its own self-cutting threads, or what we would call a die. And this one has an 832. Some of the other ones actually have more holes than this. This only has the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So as you can see, I've threaded the screw in on this side, and it's just protruding a little bit. And that, in just a visual estimate, seems to be about the right amount. So then you just go ahead and you have to squeeze it, sometimes with both hands. There, you heard that click? That was the cut. That was the drop of the little tiny piece. and you unscrew it. And as you unscrew it, it should preserve the threads. And let's hope, because now we've got hand-dyed and hand-tapped threads, which sometimes will make for a not so great combination. But as you can see, this thing's screwing in pretty good. So there's a little tiny gap, but hey, that's good because there's going to be a washer here anyways. So my estimate was good. And I happen to like Allen head bolts because you can torque them down pretty good. Also, if you don't have an Allen key, a lot of them, as this one is, have like a ribbed side, so you can grab it with pliers. Definitely better than a normal screw, but yeah, a normal screw would be fine. And as you can see, I used a fender washer here, and that's it. This sucker's ready to go back in. And there you have it, cheap and easy homemade visor repair.